Is Iran next? The country's 92 million people are heading into their 6th day of an internet blackout. Their currency has collapsed to zero against the dollar. International calls and even electricity has been shut down in certain areas. Protests have spread to over 100 cities and all 31 provinces in the country. But as the crowds grow, so too does the loss of life. Footage, which we can't show on here, shows body bags lining the streets outside morgues in Tehran. At the low end, estimates say 650 have been killed so far. At the high end, some estimates are into the thousands. But this seems to have only angered people more because in a stunning show of dissent at a funeral for those killed, where usually the ceremony would include chants of "There is no God but Allah," instead they were replaced with chants "Death to Khamenei," the country's supreme leader. So, is Iran next? Well, yesterday, the regime responded with an emphatic no. They decided to fight back and organize huge pro-government rallies attempting to show the world they still have support. And keep in mind, the current regime has been in power for over 3 decades, and they have faced even bigger protests in the past, but every single time they have weathered the storm. But one could argue the main difference now is they've never faced the Great Orange Storm. Trump has threatened military strikes. He's announced 25% tariffs on any country doing business with Iran. And he did just snatch a country's leader out of his bed in the middle of the night. So we are in unprecedented times. But Iran is very different. They've literally said they are prepared for war if that's what it comes to, and the US intervenes. But it's also not just the US. Protests have erupted in countries around the world in solidarity with the people of Iran. And so for now, the world watches and waits to see.
Yo, what's up, South Africa? Welcome to Common Sense. I'm Andre. Now, the world is truly upside down. What is seen as good is seen as evil, and what is seen as evil is seen as good. And that's just how the world has turned. But South Africa, we'll be looking at what a hypocrite President Cyril Ramaphosa is. But before we get into it, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the notification. Let's get into it. So few years ago, President Cyril Ramaphosa was big mouth amongst his chommies, stating that he will say in President Trump's face what he thinks about President Trump. And we remember in 2025 how President Cyril Ramaphosa was excited to meet with President Trump. But it didn't turn out the way President Cyril Ramaphosa thought it would. Because we all know for a fact that President Trump just brought the receipts, displayed EFF leader Julius Malema's nonsense all over the world. And there President Cyril Ramaphosa sat there asking, where are those crosses? And President Trump says to him, but it's your country, you should know. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, and this is a really good video, and so I want to show you the hypocrisy coming from President Cyril Ramaphosa.
When I meet him, I will tell him. I will say, you Donald Trump, you are even worse.
So Cyril say when he meets Donald Trump, he will tell Donald Trump those things, right? Watch my next video.
You know, I'd like my Minister of Agriculture, who is white, who comes from an opposition party to mine, who's joined my government at my invitation to address this very issue, including the question that you've just raised.
And this is where Cyril shot himself in the foot.
I grew up in an area in South Africa that is a farming area called there is some issues out there, obviously. Some of these buddy farmers got killed. But it's a constant battle with farms trying to get the Trump farms down.
He brought white farmers to convince Trump everything is okay, but things didn't go to plan.
It's a struggle.
Yeah, it's a battle to get the water out sometimes. All the equipment gets stolen all the time. So
does your family and your brothers, do they feel safe on the farm?
They live behind electric fences, you know, trying to be at night safe. But it is constant whenever you leave that something could happen. And
nowhere to live.
you know, both of them has been attacked in their houses. My mom's been attacked. So it is.
So there we go. So Cyril Ramaphosa finally responds to the question about what's happening, the operations between America, Israel, and Iran. And President Cyril Ramaphosa said some very interesting things that grabbed my attention.
What is happening in the Middle East is calamitous. It is the most dangerous development that could go way beyond the Middle East as well, because it now engulfs many more countries than just the 2 countries or 3 countries. So it's very concerning. And I had occasion to speak to some of the heads of state in that area and pass on our commiserations to them and hope that their own people will be safe, but also to ask them to safeguard the people from our own country. So the world is facing a very dangerous period at the moment. Well, South Africa is always ready to play a contributing role, either in mediation or whatever. And if a gap opens or if we are asked, we always live up to obligations.
I'm appealing him to stop this deadly vanity project of his.
We have issued a clear statement that we want a ceasefire. We want this madness to come to an end. And Donald Trump is very busy right now. He's got a war on his hands. And obviously, if the opportunity were to open, we would talk and say there must be a ceasefire. Dialogue is always the best way of ending conflict and then ending war. And we want this war to come to an end immediately. We're losing too many lives, and unnecessarily so. So thank you very much.
So there we go. President Cyril Ramaphosa has stated that this is madness. President Cyril Ramaphosa, I have a question for you. So to see that this is your good buddy or pals there in Iran, the Islamic regime, to see that they are your best buddies or pal, where is your comments when you know for a fact what they were doing to their people? The torturing and murdering of their own people. The mere fact that they had protests weeks before this attack, they had protests where 35,000 people were killed by this regime. Where's the madness now, President Cyril Ramaphosa? That's what I would like to know. The mere fact that you also included somehow South Africa in that and said, we. No, President, not we. The Iranian people have been suffering under this regime for 47 years. And you said absolutely nothing. You were silent. The video before I showed the video where you actually said something just shows us once again what a hypocrite you are. You're not a man of your word. You do not put things in action. You believe in dialogue. You believe in holding one another's hands and singing Kumbaya. And for some other reason, you think that's going to solve the problem. Mr. President, I have another question. How do you deal with the Islamic regime that killed and tortured their own people? How do you deal with them? How do you look at them in the eye and say, oh, sorry, and nicely ask them to step down? Or how should we actually deal with this? In my opinion, this is the best approach to deal with it. There was no way for the West to win in World War II by negotiating with Hitler. But here you have President Cyril Ramaphosa that feels like we need to sit down and look at a dictator in the face and ask him nicely. That's not how it works, Mr. President. The Iranian people are celebrating it in the street. They are partying. They're having a good time. They're watching from balconies. They are watching how the Americans and the Israelites are attacking this regime. And in their oohs and ahs, they are celebrating. So once again, it shows me the contradiction from your perspective and from their perspective. And at the end of a point, unfortunately, Mr. President, I'll have to go with the facts. And the facts is this, that those people are finally free. They are finally on the brink of getting their country back. And here you want a dialogue and sit with your dictators' friends and hold hands. That's not how it works, Mr. President. That's not how it works. I think you're going to need at least 101 on how to be a great president from President Donald Trump. And I know I'm going to get a whole lot of people triggered by what I said, but look at my face and I'm going to say it like it is. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, we all know what the truth is. We all know for a fact that the Iranian people are going to have their freedom. And it's going to be a sweet day for them. And I just pray that they would do so well in that nation that God will come, Jesus will come, and lives will be saved. There would be a revival, there would be a change. At the end of the day, when you have an Islamic regime screaming and shouting death to America and death to Israel, it seems like death from Israel and death from America has approached. South Africa, have a fantastic day. God bless.